Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7. I'm back with another track guide. This time we're at the Nations combination for the upcoming round at Spa in Super Formula. And yeah, we're obviously with BOP on, default setup and racing soft tyres for the track guide. Now for the race you have to use both racing soft and medium tyres. We're going to go into the strategy and stuff like that at the end of the track guide, so make sure you watch all the way through because I'm going to try and give you some pointers for this race because we have done a bit of testing and it is so important that you listen to some of them pointers. But yeah, for the track guide I'm going to try and point out some stuff to get you fast around this combination. My pace looks pretty good on this combo. Didn't take me too long to get up to pace. And yeah, it's quite an enjoyable drive. This car has got extreme downforce, so there's a lot of pointers to be gained with this car. Make sure that if you do enjoy these videos, you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments if it's helped you out and if we've managed to, gain you some time, and especially when it comes to Friday and Saturday when you've done the race. Let me know what you did in the race. So let's get on with this guide. Starting obviously final corner, get a nice solid exit from there, work your way into turn one. And first of all, you're going to be looking for braking just after the 100 board on the left hand side. Normally you'd be braking just before it, but this car's got extreme downforce, so you're actually braking a little bit past that 100 board. You can see the braking input going in there. Now we're going to brake in a straight line and then try and get it into the curb on the right hand side. You can see we're going to rotate this car in for exit speed, so you really want to get the car squared off. You see trail braking down, downshift to first gear, then back up to second gear as we're on the curb. Right hand tyre on the curb, up to second gear, and then on the accelerator. Now you can see not 100% accelerator, and then early upshift to third gear. Now I lost about a tenth or more there on the X. You can see the ghost pulling away from me, so there's at least a tenth and a half to be gained in this first sector alone. But this section now, completely flat out. One thing I will say is just try and take the smoothest, straightest line as possible. So completely flat through here. Now another thing I want to point out is in the race, when your soft tyres are fading, be careful on this curb. Now with fresh tyres, no issue. You'll be able to take that curb and the car won't react. However, when your tyres are fading on the rear, you have to be careful because the tyres bite in and it will just snap and spin you off into the wall. So bear that in mind in the race. You have to be a little bit cautious on some of these corners, especially when them tyres are fading. Make sure you go over the top of the curb as well at the top of the hill, just for the straightest line possible. And now into the next braking zone. We're looking for the 50 board. We're actually going to brake past or pretty much level or just past that 50 board. It's crazy the amount of ability on the brakes this car has got. You can see braking input going in there, and now we're going to try and slow the car down through the gears into third gear. Bit later on, you can see we're in fourth at the moment. We're aiming for that apex there where the curb is, and we're going to go down to third gear and then really carry as much speed as possible. You want to get your right hand tyre onto this curb on the right hand side. That will help rotate the car on the throttle nice, and you see maximum throttle already on there. And now we're going to again try and rotate the car in here with a tiny bit of braking input here. This will help with the rotation and getting that weight transfer so that you're getting the car to the left hand side of the track for the next right hand corner. So you can see again we're in third gear, and now again here you can see this is where we're going to try and swing the car in to this right hand corner, getting it onto the curb almost. And as we're doing that, up to fourth gear just before we're getting onto the curb. And we're going to actually take this completely flat. You can see no lifting off the throttle, completely flat all the way through that right hand corner and working our way down into this tight hairpin. Now this corner again, we're going to brake super late. Normally we'd be braking at the start of that curb, but watch, we're actually going to brake past that because this car has got extreme amount of braking ability. So we're on the brakes nice and late there. And again, as usual, we're going to try and keep the car very tight into this apex. You don't want to run wide because the camber on this corner will send you off onto the dirty part of the track. So keep it nice and tight. Back onto the throttle, upshift to third gear as you go back on the throttle, and let that power slowly push in. Now into this left hand corner, you can see we're going to swing this car in for the left hander. You want to get the car over to the right hand side where the curb is. Just as your right hand tyre is almost touching that curb, you're going to get on the brakes, and again just try and carry as much speed in fourth gear through this corner as possible. You can see onto the throttle super early, left hand tyre almost touching the green part of the curb, but be careful you don't hit the bollards. And then on the exit, make sure you don't get that right hand tyre onto the green Astra. You want to keep it on the curb but not too far over. Now this corner is an absolute killer. This corner is the corner you're going to have to be very, very careful of in the race because you have to keep your inputs so minimal. Make sure you're getting as much wide line into the corner as possible as well. You can see using the curb, and just keep your eyes on the inputs that I'm showing you there. Look at the steering inputs. It's so gradual all the way through the corner. Now you're not going to lift in time trial and even in the race when your tyres are good. you do not want to lift. It's completely flat. But that corner is going to cause you a nightmare in race conditions when the tyres are fading. You're going to have to be so careful. Now we're braking just past that 50 board. You can see braking input's going in just past the 50 board for this right hand corner. Down to 4th gear. Just let the car rotate in, coasting in, and then back on the throttle super early. You can see I'm on the throttle as we're on the curb. I'm going to get on that throttle. And then again, through this left-hand corner, just another tiny dab of that brake, just for rotation. That's going to help put the weight to the front of the car and enable you to get back on that throttle super early. You can see the throttle input going in nice and early. Use some of the curb on the right. And then again, we're going to use the curb here on the left-hand side as a braking reference. You can see it there. That's where we're going to use for a reference for our braking point. And then we're going to try and get this car rotated into the right-hand corner. Back onto the throttle super early again there. You can see in 3rd gear, but back up to 4th super early. And just carry flat out through. You don't need to brake. This corner is a non-existent corner now. It's completely flat in this car. You don't really need to worry about that. And then again, completely flat out all the way up here. And again, the next left-hand corner, there's no need to worry about it. It's completely flat out. So as we come through here, just keep the car nice and close to the apex. Easy flat, no worry in that one. And then into the next braking zone. We're going to use that 100 board on the left-hand side there. That is your braking reference. And you're braking just short of that 100 board. Now, keeping it in a straight line, use some of the curb for entry, and you're going to really attack the curb here. So the curb on the right hand side, you're going to get your right hand tyre over that, down to 1st gear. Then you can see back onto the throttle before we're off that curb. That's going to help rotate the car because you keep your eye on that throttle. Up to 2nd gear, we're going to literally 1st gear, accelerate, and then back lifting off. Sorry, before we go to 2nd gear. So before we get to the curb, we're back into 2nd gear. And now you can see the throttle inputs going on. Now, I did actually hit the curb a little bit too aggressive on the second part. Possibly lost a little bit of exit speed. But got quite good power on the exit there as I shifted at the right point and went over the line for a 49.1. Now, I think there's a 48.7 in there for me if I really went hardcore on this time trial. We only did about 5 laps, I think it was, 6 laps or so at the end of the stream last night. So there was definitely a lot of potential in this. Let's have a look at it from the chase camera again. And you can see about using the full width of the track and really rotating this car in through the corners. Now, I do think I lost maybe a fraction of a second there, maybe a 10th or more, maybe a 10th and a half on this first sector because of turn 1. Didn't quite get the power down properly. However, I gained some of it back on the chicane up here. You can see I absolutely sent it through it. So you keep your eye on the tyres and how close they get to the edge of the track. This is what you've got to do. Really use the width of the track. So onto the curb, throwing it in, close to the bollards, onto the curb again, then swinging it in from the curb. Flat out there, absolutely lovely through there. I have to say that was done really nicely, and that's how you want to get that corner done. Into this right hand corner, nice narrow line to the apex, onto that throttle super early with the 3rd gear, and again chucking it in using the curb. Just make sure you don't run onto that green Astra, and then into this really difficult corner. In the race conditions, in time trial it shouldn't be a problem. Qualifying easily flat really. It's just once you start getting that rear tyre life affecting the car, so you are going to have to be very cautious in race conditions. Again through here you can see about swinging it in, touching the curb, using the curb on the exit, getting it back over to the left hand side, braking just at the start of the curb there, and on that throttle super early for this long stretch. So that corner is actually really important to get on the throttle super early, because the earlier you get on the throttle there has a knock-on effect all the way up here, because there's no lifting zones all the way up into the chicane. So if you're a fraction of a second off the throttle there, say a tenth later on the throttle, you've lost 3 or 4 tenths by the time, well, 2 to 3 tenths by the time you get to the braking point. So remember, this car benefits from aggressive being on that throttle nice and early. And you see through here, a bit too aggressive on that curb. You see I actually got onto the sausage curb a little bit there. Lost maybe another half a tenth or more, but over the line for a pretty solid lap. Now, when it comes to the race strategy for this one, you are going to have to play this, you know, it is dependent on your level, your lobby. My advice for this race is I wouldn't go past, I'm thinking 9 to 10 laps, 10 laps at most on the soft tyres, and then the rest on the mediums. Personally, if you have one spin in this race, one single spin, then rear tyres will not do the 9 or 10 laps. They're going to struggle, and you're probably going to have to reduce that to 8, 7. Now, another thing is, in lower lobbies, what you want to think about is, if you're an A-rank driver or a B-rank driver, is this track is difficult for some of the fastest drivers in the world. They're going to be crashing. Now, you're going to probably get a lot of people making mistakes on this combo, so you may even be better considering a 2-stop in like B lobbies and doing 5, 5, 5. 5 laps on soft, 5 laps of soft, and then 5 laps on the medium at the end. You know, however you want to do it, it's totally up to you, but it will probably reduce the risk of you making a mistake in that very tricky long left-hand corner. Now, That's just some advice. It might not necessarily work, but I do think in B&A lobbies, you're going to see a lot of chaos. So fresh tyres is going to benefit you possibly. But yeah, let me know in the comment section if it's helped you out. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with more videos in the future and live streams. Thanks again for watching, everyone.